morning, everyone. Boy, you're all like spread out. Hello, people. Nice to see you. Good morning. For those of you still getting coffee and grabbing a last sandwich, go ahead and do so. We got a minute to settle down, maybe 30 seconds, 20 seconds maybe. Just do the best you can to sit down and be quiet. Please turn off your cell phones. And we'll remind you to turn them on at the end. Oh yeah, I wasn't going to be taking responsibility for you people anymore. You turn them on if you want to. You figure it out. You like it when I'm...
Yeah, otherwise I forget, and then somebody tries to call me, and I don't get the call.
Where's my violin? Okay, well, you know it's a hit or miss thing with me. And my normal crowd who's here who tells me what to do is not here, so we'll see what I can do on my own.
Well, we can figure out something to tell you what.
That's right. Yeah. I like our audience participation. Okay, cell phones off. And this morning's Open Circle mission statement is going to be read by Gail Park. She has to come through the puddles to get here.
I was busy turning off my cell phone. Open Circle provides a supportive environment together for social interaction and to improve our understanding of ourselves, our community, and our world. Presentations span a wide range of intellectual, cultural, physical, and spiritual topics. We do not necessarily agree with the ideas and philosophies of our presenters. We encourage you to listen with an open mind and form your own opinions.
Thank you. Nice bow. Okay. If you're not on our email sign-up list and would like to be, you can sign up underneath the tree by where Brad Gorman is standing. You can also do it online at our fabulous website, opencircleajijic.org. And while you're there, you can look up and find videos of previous talks. You'll get a link there that will take you to Brad's wonderful gift of giving us the videos for free now. They're not all there. He's uploading them as time goes by. It's a wonderful thing that he's doing with Open Circle. And you'll find a link there, or you can go directly to youtube.com chapaladrone. All you really have to, everybody remembers YouTube, right? chapaladrone.com. Okay? No, it's not chapaladrone.com. It's just chapaladrone. Ugh. Just search for Open Circle. Yeah, we're old. We need this thing that said the most easiest way. I still don't quite have it yet. But anyway, you can have the videos of past talks. We'd like to welcome those of you here for the first time. If you're here for the first time, if you'd please stand up, we'd love to acknowledge you. All right. One, that's unusual. Hey, thank you. It's nice to have you here. Very nice to have you here. So, let's do some jokes. 11 people were hanging on a rope under a helicopter, 10 men and 1 woman. The rope was not strong enough to carry them all, so they decided that one had to leave, because otherwise they were all going to fall. They weren't able to choose that person until the woman gave a very touching speech. She said that she would voluntarily let go of the rope because as a woman, she was used to giving up everything for a husband and kids or for men in general, and was used to always making sacrifices with little in return. As soon as she finished her speech, all the men started clapping. I believe in karma. That means I can do bad things all day long to people and assume they deserve it. Victor might be straightening out that joke. A boy asked his grandmother, "Have you seen my pills? They say LSD. "Screw your pills," says the grandmother. "Have you seen the dragon in the kitchen?" The only people could laugh are the ones that know. That was a test. A woman was trying hard to get the ketchup to come out of the bottle. During her struggle, the phone rang, so she asked her 4-year-old daughter to answer the phone. "It's the minister, Mommy," the child said to her mother. Then she said to the minister, "Mommy can't come to the phone to talk to you right now. She's hitting the bottle." Okay, not that funny. Whatever. One more. Ooh, it needs to be good. Oh, I got a karma one. I love karma. The man who drove into the parking space I was waiting for and told me to muck off, you know, I've changed one of the words, he has arrived for his interview with me. And this one I like. I use it periodically because I like it. As I was getting in bed, he said, "You're drunk." And I said, "How do you know?" And he said, "You live next door." Let's see, we do have to have our words of wisdom. These are from Socrates. "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." Socrates. Today's centering moment will be led by Karuna.
Hopefully we all noticed how beautiful the morning is. Maybe if we're sitting under the canopy, we cannot see, but we can hear. So there is not much to see, to say, but there is much to behold. Create a sacred moment. Like a hummingbird that we see around us, we can occasionally during the day take a drink from the flower of spirituality and fill ourselves with divine presence. Welcome back to the present moment.
So effortless. Thank you, Karuna. Next week's presentation, Traveling with Songs Along the Way, presented by Olga Kapelunenko. Olga will talk about her travels to different countries and her music-related experiences during these trips. A polyglot, she will sing in the languages of the countries visited: Russian, Swedish, English, French, Italian, and Spanish. Olga is a Muscovite, married with one son. She has a master's degree in electrical engineering as well as a degree in music and jazz vocals from the Moscow Jazz College. She has worked as a guest researcher in Denmark, Sweden, and later in Silicon Valley, where she worked for 16 years. While in the U.S., she sang solo and in different choirs. When her husband was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 5 years ago, she moved to Mexico, where she's been involved with Los Cantantes and has participated in the LLT productions. She also plays a piano and a guitar, but singing is her passion. So please join us next week for Olga. Today's presentation, Implications of the Law of Karma for You. I think that's for us. Presented by Victor Youcha, DC, Dr. Victor Youcha, DC. Victor will continue his discussion begun several years ago of spiritual law, delving deeper into the law of karma, its implications for us in this lifetime. Other spiritual laws will also be discussed. Victor Youcha, D.C., is a chiropractor with a practice in Ajijic, who also teaches to the chiropractic profession in Latin America. He has been a student of spirituality most of his life, having studied yoga and meditation at Swami Satchidananda's ashram in Santa Cruz, California, and then as a devotee of the Guru Maharaji. Later, he studied with Lakota and Ojibwe spiritual teachers, meditation, yoga, qigong, sweat lodge ceremonies, and vision quest. For the past 17 years, he has been a student of spiritual law through the teachings derived from Ekankar. And by the way, there's a bunch of information on Ekankar and a sign-up list by underneath the tree, if you are so interested. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Victor Youcha.
Good morning. We can hear me okay? I can even hear me. Am I too loud? I can move the mic a little further away. That's good. Okay. Well, I don't know how many times I've spoken in front of the open circle. It seems like a bunch. How many have heard me before? Good. Well, welcome back. And how many of you have been contemplating karma for a good part of your lives? A lot of us. We are in the world of karma. This is the physical world. Here we live. Cause and effect. I've been blessed by, I guess, everything that's happened to me. That's why I wore this shirt today. Lucky dog. My Chinese astrological sign is I'm a dog. And I don't know if you all know what you all are, but I'm a dog. And so when I saw this shirt, I actually bought 3 lucky dog shirts because I feel like in spite of everything that's gone on around me in my life, overall, I'm a lucky dog. Here I am. I'll be 72 next week. And I don't feel too bad. A year ago, I had a heart procedure. A year and a half ago, I still have a wife who had a very severe stroke and who remains in a nursing home. And yet here I am, still plugging along in this life that we share together in this physical world. And so I've really had a chance to, in my lifetime, learn a lot. And that's what I think we're really here for, ultimately. And I'll get to what I think we're really here to learn a little bit later on. But I've been reading this book of poems that I want to share a poem with you from, and the name of the poem is Relax, You're Going to Die. And it's by Ty Sheridan, who is a Buddhist monk. If you want full aliveness, which is presence and deep peace, which is acceptance of your living and dying within the very big cosmic living and dying, then take a fresh spring breath and exhale whatever you are holding on to in your body, emotions, mind, spirit, and die into this precise moment. Fighting death is fighting life. If you have ever been trout fishing, you know that a fish on a hook won't relax. How could he know about catch and release? Which is what the universe is always doing with your life. There is only one mantra, one string of sacred words that make any sense, which will relieve you of the sleepless nights, lockjaws, addictive habits, anxious days, depressed emotions, beating yourself up, living as if your life isn't the heartbeat of God, the breath of Buddha, the prayer of Allah, the blood of Christ, the embodiment of everything you call holy. In still waters, golden light, may you imbibe the gentle truth. Relax, you're going to die. That's not the only. I got this book. I downloaded this book a couple of years ago, and my wife Linda would always give me a hard time because I said there's only two things certain in life. I was always kind of addicted to saying this. In the United States, we say it's death and taxes. And I say, well, down here, my understanding is only about 10 to 15% of the people pay taxes. And I'm absolutely convinced that it's death and gas. No living thing is without gas. No living thing. And we happen to be blessed by being living things, and no living thing is not subject to the laws of karma. Karma is cause and effect in the physical world. I have another couple of mantras that I use personally. One, my favorite mantra to share, well, it might be becoming, relax, you're going to die, but it's the word hue. And I want to give you all the great present of the word hue. A lot of you have heard it, right? Who knows hue? Anybody uses hue? Okay. Hue is taught and disseminated now by Ekankar. Ekankar is a spiritual path that I have practiced for the last number of years, and I have been studying those teachings. It seems like what comes from the living Ek Master in this lifetime right now, during his term as the living Ek Master, Harold Klemp, who's the author of this book, or the putter together. I think the author is actually the Great Spirit, that which is eternal, what many of us call God, and Ekankar we call that essence that is God, that is also the spark that is in you, that which is soul. You are souls with a body. We live in this physical world, so therefore, as long as we live in this physical world, the lowest physical plane, the lowest plane, also called the Pinda world, we're subject to the laws of karma. Everything here is subject to the laws of karma. But this book, Spiritual Laws of Life, is a wonderful book, and there's lots and lots of literature and lots of teaching that's very compacted with lots of spiritual exercises for us to do to improve ourselves in this life. You know, Ekists, most of us believe in karma and reincarnation. Those are the two major principal ideas of it. I like to think I believe in reincarnation. I've had what I consider to be past life visions, and I think I'm back in Mexico in this lifetime as part of a karmic cycle that I have to complete before I relax so much that I'm dead in this body. So the concept that soul is an eternal being, an eternal spark of that which is God, I hold on to it. Now, I'm not sure if it's not completely a delusion, though. You know, there's a part of me that says that loves this idea, and yet there's a little corner of a doubt, a little negative thing. Anybody hold on to that doubt? I mean, we all think, how many of us are, I don't know if I could call myself a theist or an atheist. I choose to believe that there's something, that I am a soul that has a body, and this soul is eternal, and that I'm here as part of karma, part of the journey of soul, and yet I still have this little pinch of doubt back in here, you know. There's still, all right, you know, I mean, back in the 60s, I took psychedelics, right? I had hallucinations. Anybody ever have a hallucination? So that I'm not sure that what I experienced without drugs about past life visions was not something that my mind conjured up, you know, or are we really wired to, in the different planes of existence? In Ekankar they teach, and other spiritual journeys teach, we have the physical world. Reflected on the next level is the astral world. Then we talk about the causal plane of existence. This is where the Hindus and a lot of people talk about the Akashic records. And that's where our memories of our past lives are, and maybe even our memories of the future, or some connection to this future. Then there is the mental plane, then there is the soul plane, then there are planes beyond that. But I know for sure, even if everything above the physical world is a figment or ideas that we all have, that we are still subject to the rules of karma in this physical world today, right now. The longer you sit, okay, the more your big body starts to change itself into the shape of the chair. Our tissues shorten up, our tissues lengthen, and then we set. Okay, in biomechanics we call it hysteresis, creep, and set. Okay, we have a term for it. Everything you do, I call this my karma ball. This is my karma ball. What does it do for me? Right on, strong. The more I play with this karma ball, the stronger I get, even in old age. I just had an interesting experience with karma balls. And I went and took a class in Mexico City 2 weekends ago. 2 weekends ago today, I was playing with karma balls in a group of about 40 people. I went and took a training to be a certified instructor in karma balls. These are called Russian kettlebells. Anybody play with them? Here, there was a guy teaching kettlebells here for a while who passed on. Ron Krajewski was an instructor for senior citizens for senior health, to try and help older people like us to be stronger. He and I talked quite a bit about the karma balls. They're actually called Russian kettlebells. And I took this training for 3 days, and a few years ago I sent my son to a training for 1 day. He was thinking that he's a jock. He's a mountain bike racer, and he thought he wanted to be a trainer. And I sent him to this course, and he took the 1 day course, and I just talked to him. I didn't know that he couldn't walk for a week after the course. Here is this jock son of mine, who is actually a monster athlete. He was in the state of Minnesota. He was a champion cross-country ski racer. Those guys are amazing athletes. Anybody here cross-country ski ever? All right, and you know how much work it is, and you know what kind of, even I cross-country skied. I really don't have an athletic bone in my body, by the way. No competitive sports as a kid. I wish they had a sport that I fit into when I went to high school that I liked. I really, trying to understand my karmic journey in this life, I found out not too long ago, really confirmed that I'm learning disabled. Sidney Metrick gave a talk. Anybody remember that talk? I have attention deficit and I'm dyslexic. And my dad had attention deficit and was dyslexic. And not only that, Dad and I are both colorblind. All of you folks look like white people. Actually, I was socially and spiritually raised to be colorblind as well, but that's a whole nother story. And so I didn't realize why I had such a bad time in high school. Terrible. I was a terrible student. Managed to graduate in a college track, but at the bottom of my class. And I didn't realize why I had to study 3 times as hard. Maybe it was a blessing for me. in that sense. That what I learned, and I'm still on this learning journey. And on some levels, I'm an overachiever. And again, here we go, cause and effect. Karma is, on some levels, we want to think that it's a very spiritual thing, and in Ekankar we teach that karma is on the spiritual levels. Negative karma is a result of something called the 5 passions of the mind. And does this have spiritual implications beyond this world? I'm not entirely sure. They say if we reincarnate, we have a meeting with the lords of karma, spirit, us on the other side, right? We're not in the physical. No, we've translated in Ekankar, that's what we call death is a translation. You translate so that you shed this body. And the 5 passions of the mind are lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment. Lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment. 5 passions. So then there are virtues. And so if we seek to understand, the virtues are kind of the opposites of these. So the opposite of lust, the virtue would be discernment. Now, is it just sexual lust? No, it's lust for money. It's lust for anything. Lust for food. Lust for... Now, that will that bring us in our meetings with the lords of karma? Oh, you've had a life that was full of lust. Are we going to experience the effects in the here and now? What they say is that the higher you are evolved spiritually, the more quickly you experience the results of your karma. It comes back to you fast. If you're not so awake, it takes longer. Maybe later on in your life. Maybe much longer. So why do we come into this life, and what should be the end result of our karmic journey? Do we go around again and again and again and have meetings of the law around the laws of karma? So you have lust, discernment, greed. Obviously, the greed is a relative of lust, isn't it? I got to have more of it. I got to have more of it. I got to have more of it. Well, so discernment, charity would be an opposite. And lust, greed, anger. Anger is a big one, isn't it? Anger gets us right now in this lifetime. The more we carry around anger right now, the worse we feel. Why do we experience anger? Well, somebody maybe didn't meet their commitments to us, or somebody invaded our space, somebody did something, or maybe it's the result of what I did, that and my interaction with somebody that caused them to be angry at me, and then I'm angry at them, and then we hold on to this anger. And so what they say a lot of times is the opposite of the virtue of opposite to anger is forgiveness. And I think forgiveness is a good step. But I've thought quite a bit about this particular step, that forgiveness probably isn't really good enough to heal what we need to heal. And I think a step further needs to be empathy, love, and understanding. Where did that person, where did this situation really come from? How can we deepen our knowledge? And ultimately, we get to the concept of attachment. And so what happens to it? What is attachment? We get stuck on all these we get stuck on our lust, we get stuck on our greed, we get stuck, vanity. We get stuck on our vanity. We get hurt by our vanity. We hold on to it. And we need to really be able to let go of the and be unattached, detachment. And actually, the Ek masters that we talk about in Ekankar are called the Viragi masters. And the Viragis, their major virag is the virtue of detachment. So the highest spiritual level and the greatest spiritual masters are pretty much detached. Certainly detached from all of these negative emotions or the 5 passions of the mind. Sounds pretty good to me. It sounds like a good struggle. So the big question comes about, though, what is karma for? Why do we get karma? Well, in the physical world, obviously, we are just subject to physical laws. Eat too much, what happens? You get fat. Sit too much, what happens? You take on the shape of the chair and you get fat. And you drive to work, you pollute the air that we all have to breathe. We burn up the petroleum. This world is full of these kinds of implications and complications that we can't escape from. Even our negative thoughts have negative effects on our coming generations. Anybody ever hear of epigenetics? A few. Okay, so mother is super stressed out, she's pregnant, influences an epigenetic control on the fetus and how that fetus develops and the expression of genes. This physical life is very, very complicated. You know, I've had the privilege of being able to study us down to the cellular level and deeper than that. This phenomena of life, atoms, subatomic particles, and the interactions, and where we are in time and space. Things like particle physics talks about the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. A lot of you have heard of that, right? Or some of them. So part of me is someplace else in another dimension right now. But remember what buckwheat always said. Here I is. And so here I am. But I'm there too. Oy vey, what a confusion. So what do we make of it all? What is it all about? And I think it really is, as we seek to understand the purpose of karma, we have to have some ideas about it. I have some ideas, and I'll tell you what my spiritual teacher really teaches. The purpose of karma is to bring us closer to a concept that is called God realization. We are directed towards first self-realization, understanding who we are. Who am I? And I feel that I am soul that has a body. And I become more aware of it, and the more I study the Ek teachings, the more I understand it. I get some other teachings from this, but ultimately number one is self-realization. And I think that I'm pretty, in spite of being attention deficit, which means that I have sort of a hard time listening, I interrupt. I always blamed my interrupting on being Jewish from New York. But when Sydney spoke, she said, this is a characteristic of attention deficit too. Your brain just goes and latches onto something else and latches onto something. And it is interesting because that's what I do even at home. I live alone now. I visit my wife in the nursing home every day that I'm not at work or not in Mexico City or wherever I am carrying on with my attention deficit life, that I have to be involved in lots of different things. But I run around, I start one project, I start to do one thing, then I'm in the next thing, and I'm multitasking, and somehow I manage to get most of it done. I don't get it all done. but I do. Even all the dishes are clean in my house today. Miracle, miracle. and, and I got dressed, and I got bathed, and I didn't get to the exercise, except I did lift the kettle. I walked with it over to here, so now I'm stronger. Just walk around with that sucker, and it'll make you it'll make you stronger. It is a wonderful thing, and if anybody wants to learn, I'm happy to teach kettlebells. Now I'm an instructor. But back to karma. What is it for? What is God realization? What is God? What the heck is God? Is God a who? I'm Jewish. And I practice the teachings that come from Eckankar. And there's still that, that Jewish thread and a Jewish memory stays with me. And Jews cannot have an idea of what God is. Jews cannot put God into a container or into one body or into any image that we could have. So God then is in everything, God is everything, and no thing. Nothing. Immaterial. Or what is God? And so what is the concept? What is the idea? Where are we going with this God realization? So we think that God then is a few things. Okay? We think that God is love. We think that God is light. And that love and light has a vibration. Tough stuff to really wrap our minds around. So if each of you is a soul, then you are a chispa. I love that word chispa. Anybody, what's a chispa? A spark. We each are a spark of the love and light and the sound that God is. And that God is in everything. You listening, God? It's in us. And so the concept that some of you have heard the Jewish prayer that Christ said every day. If he was a devout Jew, he said, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Me as an ekist, ek is the Sanskrit word for one. So I'm an echadist, and I'm an ekist, and I'm still learning, and I'm never done, I think. So what is God realization? And what is the result of karma? What is the necessity of karma? How do we understand our karma? How do we resolve our karma? If it's a bigger thing than just cause and effect in this physical world, lifting weights, diet, taking care of whatever we do, watching our interactions between one another to try and live this journey on this earth in some kind of positive way, God realization ultimately becomes we become more godlike. And what does that mean? Love. Ultimately, God is love. And we can become love. Then we have reached that power of things that whatever we decide and need to accomplish in this life. If love is in it, then God is in it. Thank you. Now, I could probably talk for hours and days, and I could teach you exercises that would be part of the law of karma as well. How to improve your backs. Why do we have bad backs? Cause and effect. Do we understand it? We are starting to. Okay, so do I know? Sometimes we reach a point with our bodies where it's not reversible, the changes. I take care of people that have their spines are fused together from years of being like this, or other diseases. Spines will fuse together with diabetes. There's a lot of cause and effect in this physical world that I could go on for hours and hours of stuff that I've discovered over my career. Do I have some answers? I have some answers, as a chiropractor. I have some understanding in Chinese medicine about energetics and bioenergetics and qi and fluids and things in your body. I have been especially blessed to have been a student of Eckankar. Interesting thing that actually the founder of Eckankar, Paul Twitchell, actually studied chiropractic for a while. I don't think he ever got licensed as a chiropractor, but the interesting thing about the founder of chiropractic, D.D. Palmer, said you fix the spine, you impact the nervous system. The ultimate reason is religious, so that this being can reach their highest level of spiritual attainment. I thought that was pretty cool. That was in a book by D.D. Palmer, reading about that. So, the journey then for all of us is another step and to find spiritual teacher. I believe I found the highest spiritual teacher on the planet who's made more knowledge available to me that still is going to take me. God, I hope I live to 100. Maybe 120 if I can get there. I've reached what they call the fourth initiation in Eckankar now after 17, 18 years. I'd like to get to the higher things, because gradually, you start getting to learn more, and you study more, and you listen more, and we do spiritual exercises that put us in touch with the inner master. But ultimately, God realization is to become love. With love, God is with you on everything. That's the power. That's where the power comes from. I'm convinced of that. So, we have a few minutes for questions. And so, thank you for listening.
Hi, Victor. How are you?
Hi, Leela. Her name, Leela, is from the Hindus, means the divine joke.
Play.
That life is. Yes, it's a trick that God played on all of us. So she is named Leela. We're all part of the Leela.
That's right, we are. I have heard from other speakers and read in various places that karma is not what we think it is. We think of it as something, we have different thoughts about what it is. You have not given us a definition of karma, would you?
I actually did. I said it's cause and effect.
Well, but it's more than that, okay? Can you broaden that a little bit?
You know what, Leela? It's endless. So everybody's experience and understanding of karma is deeper and deeper. We start to understand this cause and effect on multiple, it's so layered.
Can you give us an example?
Okay, all right. I punch this guy in the nose. He punches me back. The universe does the same thing, okay? One example of karma. I lift the kettlebell. I get stronger. Karma. I do a bad thing to somebody. Or I do a good thing and they give me money. Okay? Or I do a good thing and they give me love. Or even better karma is I don't do anything and they give me love. And maybe the best thing we can do karmically is just give love and be loving with detachment, detached love. Love with no expectation of anything in return. Now that is doing some good karmic stuff. Do we do that so we get back goody karma stuff? Probably not. If we could just become love, then we've taken a step closer to being godlike. Is that adequate? It's never adequate. There's always a step more. We are never a finished work. You know, Harold Klemp, our living master, he says even the highest masters always have another step in the planes beyond this. There's always another step. We're never completed works. If we are eternal beings, actually, I call myself an eternal being. You know, yeah, an eternal being. And actually, I'm doing karma stuff. When I get home at some time today, after going to the jazz concert tonight and visiting with Linda at the nursing home, I'm going to practice my piano more. The more I practice, the more I learn with the piano. I started taking piano lessons November last year. And I'm learning the piano. And I love it. It's my step, another thing towards love and God realization. I love music. I hear music.
Let's see if anybody else has a question. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll bring a mic to you.
Or a joke. This young man.
No, in the back. You need to stand up, please, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you.
I understand the concept of like love and forgiveness and have worked a lot on it in my personal life and personal relationships, but I'm really struggling with loving what's going on in the world right now. And particularly in the States, there's a lot of divisiveness and hatred and unpleasantness. And every time you turn on the news, it's difficult. So how do you love things in situations that aren't loving, that are hateful and hard?
That's really, I mean, I was listening to the news this morning. I listened to National Public Radio on the internet and hearing all this stuff. And the only thing I can think of, okay, there's a pizza place in town here. I love pizza. Pizza could be God to me because I love it so much, and some friends of mine give me a hard time for buying pizza at this guy's restaurant because he was a serious Trump supporter. And I said the name. Okay. I think Mr. Trump is what the American people have earned karmically. Okay. We have created that. And am I going to get involved in the politics? No, I'm going to do this. I am going to continue my journey of love and not get sucked into the politics. I can't do anything about that stuff. I can do stuff right here and right now. You come to me, I can help you with love. Okay? I can teach my fellow chiropractors in Mexico methods that they can apply love to their patients. If chiropractic is done with love and not with so much concern about how rich we can get, then I'm spreading the spark of love and God, and I can only influence what I can influence. Will I vote? Yeah, I'll vote. But the state I'm registered to vote in, maybe it won't count. I'm registered in a red state. I'm registered in Wyoming. And because my daughter lives there, and I have a post office box there and an address I can use, so I'm in Wyoming. So I think the only thing we can really do is spread the love right here, right around us. Think about what's important to you. That's a really good spiritual exercise to do. Do and learn spiritual exercises. How many minutes do I have left?
Well, we have to see if we have more questions. Anybody else have a question? We have a question back here. Phil, right here. You can come this way. Take a left.
I have a question. Oops. Sorry about that. This is interesting about karma. My wife left me for my best friend.
Ugh.
Okay? 6 months later, he had a stroke. He's totally paralyzed on his left side. Is that karma?
Oh.
You know, the lords of karma will have to judge that, and certainly not me. You know, there's all different kinds of karma. You know, is my wife's stroke, was that karmic? She had a genetic disease that results in weak collagen. And strokes are very common in people that have this genetic disorder. And my daughter has it. Is that karma? Maybe it's karmic in that sense. You know, there are different kinds of karma. If we consider that the end result of karma is to bring us to awareness and closer to love, then there are types of karma that are just kind of thrown at us. It's called adi karma. Adi karma is the kind of karma that's given to you so that you grow from it and you learn. And so what is in this? You know, you and he will have to figure out that karma. But let me give you a little spiritual exercise to do. Okay. If you're open to this, we can sing Hugh for 3 times. Then what I want you to do, the answers come to you through the inner master, that inner voice, that spark of God that's connected to the universal master and teachers. Sing Hugh in 3 breaths. Hugh, Hugh. Not yet. Okay, I'm demonstrating it to you. Then I want you to spend 1 minute thinking about what's important to you. What are the issues you have in your life that you need to address, be them karmic or what's important? Contemplate that for 1 minute after singing. Hugh for 3, you can put your attention into your third eye. 3 breaths of Hugh is adequate. And then 1 minute. Then sing 1 long Hugh and see if you get any answers for yourself. This is the one type of spiritual exercise. So let's try it. May the blessings be. So some of you will have gotten some answers, and this is the type of spiritual exercises that we learn in Eckankar. There are many, many, many endless ways and endless knowledge, most of which will come through you. And so we learn methods to tap that endless inner knowledge, and we have a guide to help us to do that, who we do not worship, but we sure appreciate.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Victor.
much.
Thank you, everybody. If you'd please stack your chairs and pick up your coffee cups and your purses and shawls and whatever the hell else you've draped around. And if you could take your conversations outside, we'd appreciate it so much. And feel free to turn on your cell phones or not. We look forward to seeing you next week.